Welcome into the PHNX Suns pregame show brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, rate, and review. We always appreciate your support, especially here in the new year. Happy 2022, everybody. Welcome into the VIP Lounge. The Phoenix Suns defeat the Charlotte Hornets 133-99. I'm Lindsey Smith, and I'm joined by Gerald, Bourget, and Espo. Gentlemen, how are you feeling after tonight's win?
How could you feel bad after tonight's win? I mean, that was everything you could want and more. To hell with the point spread, 1.5. Like that was like the points they would gain per minute that they'd go up. I mean, it was an insane game. Everybody came through. It didn't matter that Chris Paul only scored 6 points in this one because the Phoenix Suns have the deepest center rotation in all of basketball. When their first string and their second string go down, guess what? They're bringing in two of the best there are in the game, Jalen Smith and Bismack Biyombo. If you ever imagined you'd say that in a Suns post-game show, you're psychotic. But I'm saying it right now. Welcome to the NBA, Jalen Smith. That was a beautiful performance tonight. I cannot, I'm glad that I could personally motivate you to finally have this kind of a game. I know that my videos, my quotes were on the bulletin board, and I'm glad to have you come out and play as well as you did, Sticks.
Yeah, I mean, the only bad thing I feel bad about is my pregame pick of Hornets winning by 5. That was the exact type of bounce back performance you could only hope for a team like this, especially shorthanded. Like they had 7 guys finish in double figures without Ayton, without Crowder, without McGee, without Kaminsky, without Saric, without Abdul Nader. That's an insane amount of depth. And like Espo said, Jalen Smith and Bismack Biyombo, we got to give them both their flowers because both of them surprised in ways that, Jalen Smith has been surprising over the last week, but this was his best game yet, I think. And I think Bismack coming in on a new team that he's barely played with these guys, he joined them yesterday. To have a performance like that against his old team, that's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. I love Bismack Biyombo. Like I'm a big fan already. I was already a fan pregame, but it took one game. I'm completely committed. Like would love to have them on this team for a while. And I even saw tonight on the Hornets broadcast, they were talking about his time with them over there and just how great of a locker room guy he was, how great of a teammate he was. And so I feel like he fits into this culture here with the Phoenix Suns pretty seamlessly if they're speaking so highly of him in that way.
Give Bismack the max. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I'm just used to saying that about Sun centers. If he has another game like this, I extend him the rest of the year, give him that veteran minimum and just keep that depth going. And yeah, look, Sticks. Can I be an honorary member of the Sticks kids tonight because it was spectacular to watch him. There were still some defensive lapses, but defense isn't what you're playing him for. He cleaned the glass. He scored points. I mean, 19 points, 12 rebounds in 24 minutes. You can't ask for more. And then it was weird, like when DA goes out and JaVale McGee comes in. You don't see much drop off. Same thing happened tonight with Bismack Biyombo playing that JaVale role as Sticks comes out. Bismack comes in and does very much the same. I mean, dunking on fools, rolling the basket. He played some great defense, had a couple of great stops there. Overall, just I'm in very weird territory knowing that the Suns bigs are the strength right now of this franchise.
It's very bizarre, and I feel like no one would have expected it out of this group either because Jalen Smith set his career high for a third time in the last week or so. He had 19 tonight. He also had 2 blocks. Like defense was a big issue the last couple of games as far as the team defense, but tonight they really kept the Hornets out of the paint. They held them below 100 points, which is hard to do even in a garbage time game where the whole fourth quarter is basically garbage time. And then Bismack Biyombo coming in with those poster dunks, with those blocks. Like there were just highlight plays left and right tonight. It was just a really fun game all around.
I know. I felt like the two of them were competing as to whose highlight would be the best one of the night. And it was so fun to watch. I loved that so much. All right, before we go any further, let's go to the bar. Let's get a few drinks in celebration of the Suns win. Tonight, I believe our drink of the game, the Smooth Smith. What do you think about that, guys?
Well, it's not after you, Lindsey. We're sorry, but it's after one Jalen Smith. It could have been the pickup Sticks tonight too, because Sticks picked up this team and ran with it. Man, that is you'd think it would be a bitter drink for me, but it's actually quite a sweet drink. I'm happy to see Sticks do this tonight.
It just took a little while for you to acquire the taste, Espo. I get it. It happens to the best of us, you know? We're not always a tequila drinker or a whiskey drinker. Sometimes you got to ease yourself into it.
Look, I mean, I simply wanted to see it. Now I've seen it, and I'm a believer for at least another 24 hours. So
for another 24 hours. Yeah. I mean, he was really good on both ends. And I think I've talked about it and I wrote about it over the weekend about how he's individually made the most of his time on the court, but it hasn't really felt like he's made the Suns better. Tonight, it felt like he made the Suns better. And so that was a nice step forward for him because, Lord knows that center position is crowded. We don't know what kind of minutes he's going to get when DA and JaVale McGee come back, but he's making the case that he should get rotation minutes, especially if Frank Kaminsky is still out. I don't know what his long-term future is in Phoenix because he is an unrestricted free agent and he might be better as trade bait. This might be the best case scenario where he boosts his trade value and helps the Suns get that last piece they need at a more position of need. But I mean, hats off to the kid because he's been playing really great and it's been fun to watch.
But look, his teammates put him in a better position tonight, too. Devin Booker got it going early offensively, so he looked really good. Landry Shaman shot 5 from 8 from deep. Chris Paul was passing the rock like we've seen him do a handful of times with 16 assists tonight. This was the Suns' offense running the way that we came to expect it, earlier in the season. And that helps make these bigs look better. It helps DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee look better too, that you're not expecting them to do everything. You're putting them in situations to do what they do best: rim run, clean up the glass, do those kind of things and get those easy buckets. And that was a big part of it tonight as well, where we hadn't seen that, and we definitely didn't see it in Boston on Friday.
Yes, and I feel like that's one thing I would like the Feed DA crowd to take note of tonight is that you put a center in this position of this offense, there are plays designed to give these guys looks and set them up for success. And I'm not saying that that's the reason why DA is successful. He does a lot of little things on the offensive glass and with his roles that these other bigs can't replicate. But I don't want it to be lost on anyone that just because they're not running old school post ups for him doesn't mean they're not trying to set him up. Like, this is an offense that's designed for your centers to thrive. And that's something JaVale McGee has said, that Monty is really good about drawing up those kinds of plays. So I want everyone to take notice of what Jalen Smith and Bismack Biyombo did tonight, because it's not as simple as just feed DA. They're feeding.
To hell with feed DA. Feed Jalen Smith, damn it. Give him the rock. He was hot tonight and they went away from him.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay, well, listen, since we're already on this topic, Jalen Smith and the bigs, and the chat is on this topic as well. NH and Shane are kind of going back and forth talking about his trade value. Is it still there, being that the Suns didn't pick up that third-year option? What are we going to do with Jalen now? How do we feel about it? So let's just go right into our tweet of the night, because our friend Zin NBA tweeted out a poll, and he asked, what are your current thoughts on Jalen Smith? So the 4 options that you could choose from are trade for Thad Young, trade for Torrey Craig, keep him, or other. Comment below. So far, right now, 61.5% of the 213 votes on this poll say to keep him. 22.8 say trade for Torrey Craig, 13.2 trade for Thad Young, and 2.3 other. So which one are you guys selecting, and kind of how are we feeling now about this whole stick situation? Because he still is one of the best options as far as a trade goes and value-wise for the Phoenix Suns to be able to make a move. But has the past couple games kind of changed your opinion? Has tonight changed your opinion at all?
Those kind of polls drive me nuts because in the moment, who in the right mind is going to go, yes, please, right now, trade this guy that just, that just did this. You and I will, Gerald, but we've seen the Sticks kids. We understand how they operate, and to me, that's a loaded question right now. But what I look at it as is you're never going to get more for Jalen Smith than you are right now, and you've already made your decision about the future with him. By declining that option, he ain't coming back here, right? So why not maximize what you're going to get for him? Instead of letting him walk this offseason, get a piece that helps you now to a team that's looking to get younger and taking flyers on guys that might help their future.
Yeah, it's tough because the Suns kind of botched his development as far as drafting him with the intention of playing him out of position. Like his best position is a 5, and when they drafted him, they had this idea that he and DeAndre Ayton could play together as a 4-5, and so that was their rationale as for why they were even drafting him that high in the first place. And as you know, this year and a half have played out, it's pretty clear his best spot is still as a 5. So that makes it hard because now you've got DA, you've got JaVale McGee, you've got Frank Kaminsky, you've got like 2 to 3 guys, at least 2 that are better than him, ahead of him in the pecking order. That doesn't put him in a position to maximize his trade value. So of course they declined his player option for year 3 because he hadn't really shown them anything. Because with the way that this roster is made and with its expectations of contending for titles, there was no place for him to show what he could do. Now he's showing what he can do kind of as a necessity because the Suns have all these guys out, and it's like, oh shit, well they should have picked up his option. I don't hindsight is 2020. Like we can talk about how they botched his development and put him in the wrong position when they drafted him. But like at this point, if you can get something for Jalen Smith right now, I think you still pull the trigger on that. Maybe like not this week until you get guys back, but like for the time being, you let him continue to boost his trade value, show other teams that have veterans that are on teams that are kind of wasting away, like a Thad Young, like a Torrey Craig. Their teams are going nowhere. Let these younger developmental teams see what Jalen Smith can do, and maybe they'll be more willing to give you a veteran like a Torrey Craig or a Justin Holiday or a Thad Young. His trade value is not great because teams, if they're trading for him, would probably want him for at least one more year at a team-friendly option. But even without that, they can still bring him back. They won't be able to outbid other teams, but whoever trades for him can still like play him big minutes for the rest of the year and tell him, look, we're going to invest more in you than the Suns were able to. And maybe that's a selling point to him. But it's hard to project right now. It depends all on the team and the fit and how many minutes they feed him.
So forgive me, I don't know the CBA as well as some others. I spend more time, yelling at people than reading the CBA. So, but NH in the comments says the most anyone can offer him that trades for him is $4.7 million for That's 1 correct. Year. Is that correct, Gerald?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you have kind of hamstrung yourself in what you could expect to get back. But honestly, I don't know. I mean, even if Jalen Smith shows out the rest of the year, like, is anybody going to pony up big money, for him? I'm not sure. You may be able to say, hey, look, we're going to give you the 1 year, 4.7 million. We're going to give you major minutes, and then we'll discuss some kind of long-term deal if you're a team that trades for him as well, because you will have shown you value him. And my guess is he probably wants somebody that values him right now, because if he stays here, you know what's going to happen is he's going to go straight back to the bench. Like he's not going to get minutes. His value is at a 5. So right now he'll still be the 3rd string. And depending on how they value Bismack, he may wind up 4th string even based on what they're looking for out of that 3rd string center. So right now it's, for him, I would imagine even he wants to get traded because he can probably see down the line that he's going to wind up back on the bench.
Right. It's not a great situation to be in, obviously. Like it's tough. And I really wish that the NBA had a different deadline for extending players' contracts, because you're talking about his third year having to make that decision before his second year even begins. It's never really made sense to me why that is the case for those team options there on rookie scale contracts. But it's unfortunate. Like I said, they drafted him to play the four. He's not a four, he's a five. Now he's finally showing what he can do as a five, but it's too late. They don't have him under team control anymore, which obviously hurts his trade value. I do think that there are some teams that would still be interested in giving him a look, because he is an unknown commodity. Like, these 4 games aren't going to make any team like, yes, he's a cornerstone for our future. He would still be on a flyer for whatever team he's joining. It's just tricky to project where that might be. And I think the Suns would have to throw something in if they want to get somebody like a Thad Young or a Torrey Craig or one of these other guys in a Jalen Smith trade.
I think NH makes a good point too. This was about tax money more than anything, because Jalen Smith winds up costing you exponentially if you go into the tax for next year, which they're going to. And that's probably what guided this decision, which sucks because it felt like we were past a lot of that crap, but apparently we're probably not.
I mean, my last thing on this, I'll push back on that a little bit, because yes, it is about tax money, obviously, but the base problem is that he hadn't shown anything through his first rookie year. Like, he wasn't worth, like, if we're talking about a valuable piece of the rotation that they didn't want to, extend his option or pay up for him because of the luxury tax, then we can complain about that. But like, your third string big who's only now getting to play because you have 2 of your centers in health and safety protocols, like, I'm not going to fault them for choosing not to pay that money in that case.
Yeah. Don't forget, Alec Peters once dropped, I think it was 39 in a game for the Suns, and Dragan Bender had a few big games as well. So a 3-game stretch does not make an NBA career, and we got to keep that in mind as well. And that's not crapping on sticks. That's just perspective as you look at the bigger picture here as well.
So one thing I do want to address from the comments, Code JJM said, are we undervaluing Saric even with the injury? And that comment, I think, came kind of when I was saying Jalen was probably one of our better values as far as like making a trade happen. I don't think we're undervaluing Dario at all. I think Dario is probably, if there was a bigger trade to be made, would probably also be a piece of that trade. I also just don't want to talk about that because I love the homie Dario and I don't want to see him go. But at the same time, because he is injured, he's not something that's like at the forefront for any team who would be receiving him, because he can't really help them out right now. So I don't think he would be the main piece, or maybe it's 1A, 1B. I'm not totally sure. It kind of just depends on the team that's interested, but I don't think we're undervaluing him. I hope not.
He would be most likely included in a trade if it was to match salary, because he makes, I think it's like $8.5 million, which is a decent chunk. It's not a ton of money, but it's enough that you can combine with Jalen Smith and trade it for kind of one of those mid-tier contracts, a guy that would help the Suns. I don't want to think about it either. I love Dario Saric. He's beloved in that locker room as well. But that's the unfortunate nature, is it would probably be Saric, Smith, and maybe a pick of some sort if they did want to make a move for a guy who could come off the bench in a playoff situation.
All right. So let's move on from that kind of conversation, because it kind of took us down like a sad path. And back to tonight's game and some of the fun that came from that game. And we'll keep going with Jalen Smith, because this was a moment in tonight's game. It came in the third quarter. It was a hot damn Jalen Smith with the slam. If I've ever seen it, he went up with a vengeance, and it was a sight to behold. It was beautiful. So kudos to that young man for that. That was incredible. And it was the second one of the night too, which was even more fun.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, that was arguably the poster dunk of the season for the Suns. I'm trying to think of one that was better, and maybe it's recency bias, but I mean, he just destroyed Mason Plumlee, like, absolutely. And I don't think, like, the bench reaction was almost as good as the dunk itself, because you could see everybody going crazy. That was just incredible.
I believe we actually have the highlight, so I'm going to play it right now for you.
Do we?
I love that.
I mean, look at.
I mean,
He comes down. Jalen gets it fed to him by CP3, and he just destroys Plumlee. And you're right, but the funny thing is, Lindsey said, "Oh, let's judge who had the best reaction on the bench." I didn't know like 2 or 3 of the guys in the frame.
oh no.
I'm like, "Oh, look it's the 10-day crew, and they're excited. What a deal, you know?"
Oh man.
I mean, there were just so many good reactions from that. Like, I think Kellen Olson was the one who tweeted out, and I responded 100% to him because he said one of the best gifts you can ever get is having a dunk like that happen on the same side as your team's bench, because then you get to see all of the reactions from everybody in there. Cam Payne falling over and basically like dying was hilarious. But I think it was Elfrid Payton who literally ran. He must have been sitting like where the crowd was sitting. It seemed like he ran across the entire bench to come over and resuscitate him. I thought it was so funny.
Oh, it was great.
My only wish was we could have gotten a Frank Kaminsky reaction to it, because Frank's our next level. We would have gotten the goggles or something, you know?
I was loving Ish Wainwright's because he was out of his chair before it even happened. He knew what was about to happen. And then you saw Book and you saw Cam Johnson. You saw Chris Paul like standing there next to Sticks and like giving Mason Plumlee the mean mug for him. I was dying. That's really cool. Like, I love those moments because Jalen Smith he's been working his ass off in practice. He's been trying to have a moment just like that where he can have an impact for his team. And the way that they all react to it, like, you can just tell these guys are super close and just want to see each other succeed.
There's actually a better photo of the dunk than there was video. Here it is. Yes.
That is fantastic.
Our friend Manuel showing Jalen Smith dunking on me. My head is on Plumlee there. So
whatever encouragement or influence he needed in order to get that done, like, shout out to you, Espo, if that was all you're doing. I don't care. That was amazing. And I'm very glad that we got to see it. And I'm very glad that it happened in the first game of the year to get this Suns team back on track, because tonight's game, like you said earlier, Gerald, our picks, the only one who was even remotely close, I think, would be Saul, because he had the Suns by 10. All of us either had the Suns by like a 5 or so, somewhere between
1.
Yeah, you had 1. I think I had 4. Gerald, you had the Hornets at 5.
So you were only 40 some odd points off, Gerald. Don't feel too bad.
I was right there.
But even DraftKings had, the spread, like, they just didn't know. Nobody really could have known one way or the other, because the Suns weren't playing their type of basketball for the past few games, because Charlotte was on a winning streak and playing a little bit better than normal. But the way that the Suns team came out tonight and started from the very beginning with the energy, with the aggression, and kept it through the entire game, it's nice, because we're back on track. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's pretty safe to say nobody enjoyed the last handful of games that we were in the dive bar afterwards. But that was not fun.
No.
What's great, though, that was only the second best dunk of the game. I still think Bismack's was better when he destroyed Ish Smith, just because I love big guy on little guy dunkage, right? Because it looks so much more vicious, right? It just looks like he bodies him and you're like, oh my God, he destroyed that man. Plumlee, it was like, oh, he tried to defend it and you got him. But Ish, when Bismack did that on Ish, you're like, ooh, that may set his career back there. That is vicious.
It looks like when one of the dads is playing like on one of those shorter rims with their kids, and the kid like hits a shot and starts feeling good, and so the dad just has to go out and dunk on someone and remind them that they're bigger than them. That was Bismack's dunk over Ish Smith on like a little kid hoop. Yeah. I'm not taking that over Jalen, though. You're crazy, man.
It was Nerf hoop dunkage. Like, I love that. Plus the new guy, I don't know. They're equal. They were both amazing dunks.
They were both amazing dunks, but I don't know that I would say that they were equal.
Maybe to hell with both of you. You're wrong.
Like 80-20. No, what would it be? 60-40 maybe? 70-30, somewhere around there. I did think
let me ask this.
It was amazing. It was really pretty. And it was fun because you're right. It was his first game. It was against his former team. So all of the like emotions and things, the storylines that Twitter loves, they were all there, which makes it kind of fun,
Yeah, let's ask this: who's the more popular Smith right now, Lindsey or Jalen?
Definitely Jalen right now.
I don't know, because the chat, I think, I loves you both about the same level, disturbingly so.
Well, I appreciate the love, but I'm going to go Jalen on this one because he had himself a career night, it felt like. So,
See, I'm gonna go Lindsey because we would never trade Lindsey.
oh,
I don't know. You think Kellen's available? Maybe.
Man. Oh no!
Firing shots to start the year. First, Gerald came for Espo. Now Espo's coming for me.
It's a vicious circle.
I know. I didn't even start this time.
The scary thing is, I could actually do something. Gerald can just say words. All right, so I can facilitate a trade.
Good luck. Gerald would never. He'd be like, "No, Lindsey's the homie. I'm never replacing her."
MCG Blue says, "Who's been on a book cover though?" Jalen's been on a poster. I mean, he was the star of a poster tonight. But Lindsey does have the book cover. That's true.
Facts. Thank you, MCG Blue. Appreciate you.
There's not a lot of romance novels that go, "Hey, we need a guy with goggles because that's sexy."
Well, speaking of Jalen Smith, since we're still on the Smith topic, and Kellen Olson, he just tweeted out that Jalen Smith said tonight after the game that in shoot-around, Coach Mark Bryant said he wanted to see a little bit more emotion out of him. So he credits that conversation with Mark Bryant to helping him bring out some of that energy after his poster tonight, which I believe he got teed up for, right?
Yeah, he did.
You love to see it.
That dude is basically dead silent during practice. I've heard that man utter like maybe 3 things on the court when we've watched them practice, the little bit that we've watched. So to hear him like screaming in a dude's face and flexing on him, I mean, that was pretty cool. Well earned technical foul.
If I'm him, I'm going to Mark Bryan and going, "Hey, you paying this tech fine? Because I did that because of you. All right."
I don't know if you heard, but I don't have money coming to me next year, so you're going to pay this one.
You get a contract right now. I got jack squat. How about you pay this for me?
Oh, boy.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on just for at least a little bit from Jalen Smith, because there are quite a few other players that we do need to talk about tonight. So first and foremost, let's name our draft king of the game, because tonight it is going to none other than Devin Booker. So Devin Booker finished with 24 points, 3 assists, 7 rebounds. Gerald, he came out, I think he was your pick for tonight to be the king of the game. He came out with that energy and that mindset of like, we're not doing this again. And he made sure that the entire team also followed suit, and they got the W because of it.
Yeah, I mean, he had, what did he have at halftime? He had 20 at halftime, I'm pretty sure. He only played 29 minutes in the game. He set the tone from the first quarter. He had that laser to Jalen Smith for a dunk just to start the game. Then he scored the next 5 points. Like, he came out on a mission, and that was good to see, because we've always, we've seen Devin Booker bounce back from rough performances. But for a shorthanded team that needed it, like, that was a welcome sight, especially playing on the road. Kevin Young had said before the game that those 2 guys came in focused for shoot around today and wanted to set the tone, and Book did exactly that, and he was knocking down threes. He was hitting tough shots. Like, when the dude is in his bag the way that he was tonight, he is impossible to stop. So nice reminder that at the end of the day, sometimes Suns are going to be missing guys. Sometimes guys aren't going to show up. But as long as they have a Devin Booker, they will be somewhat competitive at least.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he's the reason that they got out to that big lead, and it's what they needed. They needed a kind of win that was no doubt, which tonight definitely was that. I mean, no Gwen Stefani, but it was no doubt for sure. And that's for all you 90s kids out there. Just enjoy that one, if you will. But yeah, I mean, and they needed that, and Devin set that tone, and he found a way to get people going, and that's what you want from Devin Booker. And then it also took the pressure off of CP3 needing to come out and have big offensive night too, because Devin did that, and CP could just focus on getting other guys involved. I liked that tonight.
CP.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Lindsey.
No, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it was good to see Chris Paul. He didn't really bounce back on the scoring front, only 7 points, 3 of 6 shooting. But he did have the 16 assists. He had 16 of the Suns' 36 assists. And the last couple games, the Suns only had 20 some, like low 20s, which is not characteristic of this offense. Like you said earlier, Espo, the ball was moving better tonight, and Chris Paul was the main architect. So even though he didn't shoot the lights out, he still played a much better game than we had been talking about for over the last week.
Absolutely. He had 8 assists in Friday night's game, and tonight he was a plus 34 with those 16 assists and 6 rebounds added on to that. And only one turnover. One turnover tonight from
He's
CP.
insane.
So.
16 assists and 1 turnover is freaking insane.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
And that's
that's
why he's a point god and not a point, kind of good.
Facts. So another thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, Gerald, this one came from you. So you tweeted this out, I believe at the end of the third quarter or somewhere around midway through the third quarter, you said, underrated storyline of the night. Mikal Bridges getting that offense back on track and being a little more aggressive than we've seen over the last few games. And when you had tweeted that, like right before you tweeted that, it was like, I went and looked at the box score and I was like, oh, Mikal has 15 points. Like, this is awesome. It just feels like it wasn't like highlights, you know what I mean? It kind of went under the radar a little bit because there were so many highlights happening. And I was like, you're absolutely right. It is great to see Mikal having a little bit more offensive rhythm to his game tonight.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it in the pregame how we were a little disappointed with the way his offense didn't kind of step up with guys being out over the last 3 or 4 games. But he was great tonight. You know, he had that one pull up 3 in transition. I think in the first quarter that it was like, okay, Mikal is like here tonight. Like he's ready to contribute. And we talked about the continuity aspect of it all and how all the guys in and out of the lineup probably affected his offense a little bit more than some of these other guys. But it was good to see him playing confident. He had 15 points on 50% shooting, and I don't think he played the entire fourth quarter. So he only played 24 minutes. So that's great production out of him in a limited span. And we could talk about him in a little bit too, but Landry Shaman, I would put in that same category as well, because he had a nice bounce back tonight too.
Yeah, we tend to, well, I won't say we. Saul tends to really get at Landry Shamet, and tonight's God Shamet is a good one because he shot what was it, 6 of 9, 5 of 8 from 3-point land, 17 points in 24 minutes. That's why you traded for him. That's why you're rewarding him with the contract, because when he's on from deep, he's a big time impact player for this team, and that's what he did tonight. And it's very similar to what Mikal did, hitting shots from deep as well. If those two guys are going, plus you get Cam Johnson going for 14 himself, this team's unstoppable. Like if you get 2 of those 3 guys going on any given night, this team is going to be unstoppable going forward. So a very, very good night for confidence building across the board. There isn't anybody that's leaving this game going, wish I could have done more. You know, everybody kind of did what you were hoping. They get a build confidence against the league's worst defense, and then you hope they can carry it on going into New Orleans on Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And Landry Shamet also had 4 steals tonight. And then Cam Johnson, you brought him up. He had 14 points. He shot 50% from the 3-point line. So he knocked down 3 of 6, which means Cam Johnson has extended his career long streak to 16 straight games of scoring 10 or more points and has made 2 or more threes in 19 straight games. So shout out to Cam for keeping the streak alive. We needed another streak to grasp onto, and Cam Johnson gave it to us. So I'm here for it. But I think, okay, so MCG Blue brought up Bismack, his arrival, making Jalen, Shamet, Book, and all the guys play a little bit better, keep him I think he's been a little tongue-in-cheek. But do you think that in an honest situation that playing Charlotte, who, Espo, we talked about, has one of the worst defenses in the league, do you think that maybe that was just kind of the defense they needed to go up against to get that shooting confidence back, to maybe find that rhythm again, to kind of get them back on track from the little bit of a slump they were in?
sure as hell couldn't hurt. I mean, you saw what they were able to do against that defense. And I don't care if it's a little bit of fool's gold. I mean, you win by that much, it helps your confidence. When you win by 34 points in a game, that's going to propel you into that next game. That shooting you go into for a Landry, for a McHale, even for Devin coming off a rough game, you go, oh yeah, that's the rhythm. That's what I can do when it goes my way. And that always carries over. There's always a little glow when you have a good night like that. So whether yes, probably 50% of this is crappy defense from Charlotte, but 50% was they were doing the things like we've talked about that the Suns offense does when they're at their best. I mean, we saw they made that extra pass, sometimes 2 extra passes to find the open guy, and that helps them remember, hey, that's how we do it. That's Suns basketball, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, the ball movement was back tonight. It was great. The chemistry was there, which is impressive because can't stress this enough. It's hard to continue to play the same style of basketball this team plays when you don't have your 2 main centers, 2 rim running guys who are really big in that gravity that they suck in the defense, and that opens things up on the backside for all the Suns 3-point shooters. I think having Jalen Smith play the way that he did tonight, and then having Bismack Biyombo be that rim rolling big tonight for the bench, that was big in terms of kind of getting their continuity back on the same page, even if it was with a guy that most of these groups haven't played with, both the starting unit and the bench unit. So that was really fun. Hopefully, it never hurts when you play the NBA's 28th ranked defense or whatever they are, but good to see them get back on track, and hopefully they can carry that momentum forward into the next game as well.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break because the NFL season is winding down. The playoffs will be here before you know it. And at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, the offers are getting even more amazing. So new customers who sign up using the code PHNX can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you're going to win $200 in free bets. It is that easy. Don't miss out on the action. DraftKings sports customers can also get into NFL action with same game parlays. So add a few more legs to your bet for a potential bigger payout. It's a great way to utilize your free bets because it's not your money. So you don't have to really risk anything potentially to get a huge payout. So if you haven't downloaded the DraftKings Sportsbook app just yet, be sure to do so and use that code PHNX because one more time, if you use that code PHNX and you bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and they do, you're going to win $200 in free bets instantly. That's promo code PHNX this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older. Arizona only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700. Guys,
you want a gambling story?
Yeah,
from today?
Yeah.
I thought I won $100 on a $10 bet and then realized I didn't bet Jamar Chase anytime touchdown. I bet Jamar Chase first touchdown, and that was sad. Then I missed out on $600 on a $10 bet on a 3-leg parlay that fell 1 leg short. So
I think it's because you're missing Crowder's Cash Club, that first field goal club. You know what I mean? I was just going to ask, what do you guys think? When are we going to get him back so that Espo can bet on him again?
I almost bet Jalen Smith tonight and then didn't get it in time after the post-game show. So just a rough day at the sportsbook app, the DraftKings Sportsbook app for me.
I mean, that's all right. We'll get it turned back around, but hopefully sooner than later. Do you guys have the math? I know I missed a few games early last week, so I don't know if I have the math exactly right in my head. How long has it been since Jay, DA, and JaVale have been out?
In terms of days?
Yeah.
7, right? Was it last Sunday?
Crowder, we heard about last Sunday, I believe, and then DeAndre was Monday. So it'll have been about 7 days for DA tomorrow and 8 or 9 for Crowder.
Okay, so we're getting fairly close to potentially reaching at least that threshold of quarantine time that the NBA has set in place.
Yeah, well, I think they still have, because they've cut down the quarantine time, I believe, from 10 days to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And then, but I don't think any of the guys made the trip on this road trip, or
Mm.
at least they didn't go to Boston. So I'm not sure if they're with the team right now.
I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's 2
Yeah,
negative tests in that time or
right.
above 35, whatever the count is in the blood. Again, I know, I know epidemiology about as well as I know the CBA, not very, so.
All right, I do want to bring up a question that came up in the chat from Mike B. So he said, Cam has been real legit lately. Any chance we keep him starting? I don't see us messing with our starters, but the guy is going to want to start soon, I'm sure.
You
What do
need
you
him
guys
on the
think
bench.
about this comment?
You need him on the bench. You need that scoring on the bench. What I think you hope is he takes that confidence that he's had in that starting lineup, brings it back to the bench, and becomes the guy offensively off the bench, because you've seen it with everything that's going on. The bench is depleted. When they don't score, it puts that much more on the offense and or on the starters, and it's true even when they're at full strength. This bench has lacked some of its pop since campaign, hasn't been as big of an offensive weapon as he was at times last year. So I feel like you need Cam playing that way off the bench to really put you in that conversation for the 1 seed the rest of the way, because Jay is far too streaky to count on as that guy on the bench. And while you can hide him within those streaks with the starters, I just don't think you can when he's playing with that second unit.
Right. And we've talked about this before, but I think you need Jay for the little things he does with the starting group. You need Cam for his scoring and shooting punch that he brings off the bench, especially, Cam Payne's been better the last couple of games, especially tonight. He was good, but this season his numbers are down. So you need Cam Johnson scoring and shooting off the bench. I think next year is when you maybe revisit this based on how the playoffs go. Jay Crowder will be another year older. He'll have another, hopefully, deep playoff run on his NBA odometer there. So you might then be able to ease him into a bench role and Cam Johnson be ready to take over that starting role himself. But for now, you don't mess with a good thing. Jay Crowder does too much on both ends, and they're very good fits for their respective groups right now.
Okay, what about this? Because Tim and Shane in the chat are mentioning, okay, even if he doesn't start, maybe do we think he'll finish more games than Jay will if he keeps shooting like this and just being more deserving of those minutes and those opportunities because of what he's done recently?
Depends on what you need. I mean, if you need defense, you're gonna play Jay probably more than you're gonna play Cam. And that's not saying that Cam isn't good defensively, but that's really Jay's specialty, is that hard-nosed defense, getting under the skin of your opponents. If you need offense in those final few minutes, I think you probably would turn to Cam, unless Jay's having one of his unconscious nights shooting. But overall, it's going to vary. And Monty has shown this, a willingness to ride whatever hand he needs to get a victory. So I don't even know that it will be consistent, between these two guys. It'll be, what does the moment dictate? And you'll get the guy that you need.
Right. And there's the possibility there could be lineups where they need to go small for a last second stop or something like that. And you put Cam out there with Jay, because then you have the ultimate switchable defense there. Because Cam is no pushover on D, even though Crowder's obviously the veteran and the communicator, that guy that they need on the back line alongside DA. So it's both a luxury to have and a challenge for Monty to kind of determine on a night to night basis, okay, who's got it, who has the hot hand, who do we need on these last possessions of a close game, that type of thing. So it's a good and a bad problem to have, but I think Cam is definitely working his way into, okay, we need to consider leaving this guy on the floor in late game situations, depending on what we need.
Well, it could be an interchangeable piece too with McHale. And I hate
Mhm.
to say that, but if McHale's having an off night offensively, you could see Cam play in some of those situations alongside Jay and have McHale be the odd man out if you need that on a certain night. But that's the beauty of this. That's why you play semi-positionless basketball, so you can interchange these guys depending on who's having the good night. So,
I mean, Chris said it best in the chat. Can we pause and appreciate that these are the conversations we're having about this team? I've been a fan for a long time. ... Yes, absolutely. We should pause and appreciate that these are the types of conversations, like the small little tweaks about how we can get even better versus what do we need to win a game? You know what I mean? Like, what a time to be alive.
slightly different than 5 years ago, even a decade ago, 3 years ago.
Oh my goodness. All right, gentlemen, before we close out, is there anything else that you would like to talk about from tonight's game?
Jalen Smith, you do it again. You put up another good game, and I will find a way to wear a Jalen Smith jersey on this show. I will be a Sticks kid. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Sticks kid. I will sing the Toys R Us theme song, reworked for Sticks, while wearing a Sticks jersey if he has another game like this. So,
I mean, that could be a really entertaining segment.
that's what I'm here for, is to entertain the masses. All right. Plus, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, unlike some others. Not on this show, but others around the internet. So
I don't like to admit when I'm wrong, Espo.
Well, you're never wrong, right? So that's why
I'm always wrong.
See, she just admitted she's wrong. She's
but I don't
lying.
like to admit it.
But yeah, I can't really. I don't have nothing to follow that up with, so I'm good. On to the next one. Great bounce back performance. I feel like that was exactly that was better than my best case scenario for tonight. So the resilience of this team, we shouldn't overlook that. With an acting head coach and all these guys out, pretty impressive game tonight.
Absolutely. Well, once again, the Phoenix Suns defeat the Charlotte Hornets 133-99. Thank you all for tuning in. Happy New Year. Again, we hope that 2022 brings you a lot of health, wealth, and joy in your life, and a Phoenix Suns championship as well. Don't forget, if you have not become a member at gophnx.com, you can do so right now. We've got a ton of great Valley Sports content there. Gerald writes some sweet, sweet articles that you don't want to miss out on because they're always so insightful, thoughtful, and really well written. It gives you a lot of information about this Phoenix Suns team that we know and love so much. So if you have not already checked out gophnx.com, please do so. And then also head on over to phnxlocker.com because we've got some really cool merch in there. You know, if maybe you didn't exactly get what you wanted for Christmas, but you got hooked up with some cash and you need somewhere to spend it, that you know you're going to get a really dope t-shirt that you love for a really long time, that's the place to go and get it because we've got some amazing things in there. So check it out. Once again, phnxlocker.com for all of our merch. I'm Lindsey Smith. You can follow me on Twitter at LindseySmithAZ. That's Gerald Bourget. You can follow him on Twitter at Gerald Bourget. That's Espo. You can follow him on Twitter at Espo. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Espo, you want to tell us to go home?
Don't forget, sticks don't need no stones to break Charlotte's bones. Ahoy hoy.